Okay, I think that's probably it. Okay, good morning, everyone. Did you all enjoy the party last night? All partying hard? It's pretty impressive, actually, the number of people here. A lot more than San Francisco. I think Europe parties harder and gets up earlier than the Americans somehow. So it's pretty, well done. So, my name's John Iball. I'm the Director of Product Management for Alfresco, looking at Alfresco 1. And this morning I'll be talking to you about using reporting analytics to gain insights into the way content is being used inside your business. So, first of all, I want to talk to you about the drivers behind the need for reporting analytics, why so many of our customers have been coming to us saying, get this into the product, and why we've actually released it with 5.0. And for those of you that were in John Newton's excellent keynote yesterday, I think the first problem that the customers are facing, that all you are facing, is that we're under increasing threat from the rest of the world, particularly Asia. For the first time in history, actually, productivity is not increasing. Businesses are getting old and fat. Some of you may work for old and fat businesses, who knows? But customers are looking for any way they can to gain business efficiency, and reporting analytics can certainly help them understand where they can make savings. The next thing is around content explosion. I like this statistic from IBM. 90% of the content in existence today was created in the past 2 years. It takes a while to get your head around that. Now, how accurate that is, no way of proving it, but it does illustrate a massive problem. How is the content explosion affecting the businesses we belong to? How is it affecting our end users? It's making it much harder for them to do their day-to-day activities. And we really need to start understanding where the value in content is. Reduce the chaff, get rid of the chaff, and actually protect and really utilize the valuable content. So really, reporting analytics can help you extract the maximum value from the content, the people that are using that content, and the processes that are running within your organization. And it also helps you demonstrate progress when you make progress. If you make some business changes and they're not successful, you also need to know that. So they're just a few of the drivers, the reasons why people are really interested in looking at content analytics. Okay, so what are we going to be delivering with Alfresco? So this is an overview of our solution. First of all, it's an enterprise AMP. It's an AMP, it's a module, it's a chargeable item. And we're OEMing Pentaho Enterprise Edition. So we went through a very rigorous selection process, looking at all the analytics providers, with particular focus on the open source providers, for obvious reasons. And Pentaho came out on top, and we're very pleased to be working with them as a partner to deliver reporting analytics. We've embedded Pentaho into Share, and we've taken the decision to expose all the tools and the reports and charts that we've developed by the web. So it's a web-based interface. And the main reason for that is to make it really simple for the end users to use, very simple to configure. That's not to say you haven't got the option, if you so wish, and you've got the skills, to actually use some of Pentaho's desktop tools. It's got some very sophisticated analytics tools that you could use, but it'll require more effort on your side. Our focus was to get the easiest way for our users to access the content and get the insights they need. The solution will actually require a separate Pentaho server, provided as part of the package. And we've had to develop an entire new events capture framework. We looked at using the audit logs, the activity feeds, but for various reasons around scale, completeness, performance, they weren't practical. We've developed our own data mart, our reporting schema, and the solutions provided with a set of ETL tasks to allow the data to be extracted, transformed and loaded into Pentaho so it can be analyzed. So that's just a very high-level view of what the solution comprises. But how do we see it being used? What are the roles that are using it, and what are the key use cases? Well, we see 4 key roles that are going to benefit from using reporting analytics. First is the IT systems administrator, really just trying to maintain, trying to keep the ECM system running effectively. Then we've got the line of business project manager, potentially product manager, depending on how the organisation is set up, looking for improvements in efficiency, in process efficiency, looking to have their users work more effectively. Then there's the knowledge worker, the content consumer who's using content day in, day out just to get their job done. And finally, the business analyst who's trying to understand, get insights into the way the business is operating as a whole, so they can make changes, make recommendations to improve. So look at those in a little more detail. So, IT systems admin, why does he need reporting analytics? Well, first of all, he's going to be probably responsible for making recommendations as to which solution was selected. So he's going to be measured in part by the success of the ECM. So he needs to be able to demonstrate value, demonstrate things like user adoption levels. But his day job is going to be to keep the system running. So by getting views on trends and around storage and access requirements, he can do some forward planning, resource planning to keep the systems running effectively. He may also be tasked with looking at managing sites. And we know that site proliferation can be a problem. So by seeing which sites are active and inactive, which sites can be potentially culled, that will also help him get his job done. Then we've got the line of business, or the project manager, who really needs reporting analytics to, first of all, look at where content's, where value is being delivered, look at user productivity, look at content hotspots, where activity is occurring across different sites, across different projects, and possibly most importantly, look at bottlenecks in processes, look at where changes need to be made. The content consumer, the knowledge worker, well, their real need is around understanding what their colleagues are doing. If a piece of content is being accessed a lot, being used a lot by their peers, it's probably going to be useful and interesting to them. It also gives them a view on where the intellectual property lies, where the knowledge lies within their peers, who to go and ask if they've got a problem. And also it allows them to compare their use profile, how they're using content with that of their peers. Are they generating as much valuable content or not? Finally, we've got the business analyst. And he's really looking for trends in how the business is performing. Again, efficiency around content, people and process. He needs to be able to quantify the impact of business changes. He needs to understand where value is being generated in the business and who's generating that value. Perhaps he wants to know what tools he needs to provide. What type of content is being utilized. And the list goes on and on. The point here being that the business analyst often doesn't know what he doesn't know. So we need to give him a complete tool set to allow him to slice and dice the data, to allow him to get the insights for his particular business. So what are the business questions that we can already answer with the package that it stands? And we'll continue to develop it. Well, first of all, it's really all around who is doing what, to what, in fact, with the content, where they're doing it in the organization, and when are they doing it. We can see what the most valuable content is and who's creating that content. We can look at activity trends across sites, give forewarning of where there's a potential problem, where there's a potential lack of engagement. Look at how processes are running, where the bottlenecks are, where the long-running processes are, where potentially the most benefits can be gained. Who the collaborators are on the most valuable piece of content. Who's working with who, how effectively they're working. And then looking at content lifecycle, looking at how content's used over time, whether it's in need of replacing, updating, or deleting. Okay, so let's take a look at the functionality we're going to be delivering. And having said that this is an enterprise-only product, I'll contradict myself straight away by saying we have got limited community reporting capabilities, just as an example of what can be done through Solar. So there's a couple of Solr-based reports, both looking at site-level reporting. I'll come on to those in a second. But the main thrust of the product, the main goal is to provide insight for the enterprise. And we've got two types of reporting. First is canned reports, where we've taken a view on what will be useful to a majority of businesses, what's going to span various verticals. And we've taken the work away from you. We've actually predefined a set of reports. And these tend to be site-based or user-based. And then we've got ad hoc reports, aimed primarily at the business analyst, but you can publish to individual sites as well. And we're allowing you to build your own reports, design your own reports, your own charts, build your own dashboards, and we'll see that a little later on. So the community reports, just an example, there are only two, but there's nothing to stop you building your own. Both based on Solr queries. First one is a simple content breakdown by the type of content in the site. It gives you an idea of whether it's a site that's used a lot for rich media or for word processing or general collaboration. So it gives you a view of how the site's being used. And then the next chart on the right-hand side is the top contributors report, which is showing you who's uploaded the most content to the site, who's actually generating the most. And this is actually showing a rather uniform breakdown of the user input. This is one of the problems with demo data, I guess. So on to canned reports. This is just a screen showing some pre-canned reports that we've defined for you that will be delivered with the solution. And it's really based on user activity, site activity, and process. We'll take each of those in turn. So the user activity reports allows you to focus on the different sort of activities. You might want to see who's creating most content, who's editing most content, who's consuming the most content. You can select the most active or the least active users, or groups of users, and allows you to select the date range that you want to report on. And it's really giving you an insight into who's actually contributing and potentially who's not contributing, where the value lies within the user base. Then there's the site activity reports, which is giving you a view of where activity is occurring in the business. It can show one site or potentially multiple sites. And again, looking at trends in activity, looking at whether there's increasing activity could show that there's potential bottlenecks or potential opportunity. So looking at how the activity around content changes over time across the business gives some valuable insight. And then there's process reporting, understanding the time taken to complete tasks and processes, what content's involved in the process, who the assignees are. Are some assignees associated with bottlenecks more often than others? So it's giving you insight into which tasks and processes are completing on time, which are running late, where the long-running tasks are, where the potential biggest gains could be, and of course where the bottlenecks are. So that's the community charts and the CAN charts. But for the next section, I really want to go over looking at the business analyst view, looking at how we can actually create the custom charts for business-specific requirements. And for that, I'm going to have to switch across, bear with me a second, to standard Alfresco dashboard, administrator dashboard. Hopefully you can see that. It's a little bit small, but it won't matter in a second. So first thing I'm going to do is actually start by going in and looking at creating the reports. So I've got this option here called Analytics. I can go in and I can say Analyze. This then gives me the option of either opening an existing report, I've got a number I've already created, or I can create a new report from scratch. So I'm going to do that. In this case, it's around content and users and activity. So down the left-hand side, you can see all the different parameters that we can report on. There's quite a few. It's around different activity types, types of content, date and time, different content types, the size of the content, the actual content itself, the users that are doing the activities, and then the measures that are showing us how often the activities are occurring and how many users are performing the activities. So let's start with a report to look at who's creating the valuable content. Okay? So I'm interested in, first of all, looking at the content. So I simply drag the content name across to here. And I'm only interested in the top 10 most active items. I'm interested in the number of activities occurring for each of those. And, in fact, the type of activity. So this table is now showing, for each of the top 10 most active pieces of content, the number of reads, the number of uploads, downloads. But I want to really focus on looking at the value of the content. So we can actually select or filter by event type. And I'm going to say, for the purpose of this demo, that we're interested in, well, I want to know who's adding the file, so I need to do that. But I also want to look at the file that's most downloaded and most read. So I can filter on those items. I can then configure the report to allow drill down. And I think we'll have subtotal shown. And select the columns we want to see in the drill down. So I'm going to unselect all of these because for this particular chart, I'm really just interested in the user that's performing the activity and perhaps the time that they're performing it. Okay, so that looks good. So now we've got a table showing you the top 10 most active pieces of content in terms of downloads and reads, the content that's being consumed the most. And if I look at this column, I can see, in fact, this is one of the problems with demo data, so you have to excuse this. So when we created the set demo data, rather than upload hundreds of thousands of files, we uploaded a selection of files many times. So this is slightly nonsensical. You normally have just one. Each file will probably be uploaded only once, but in this case we've got a lot of uploads. But we can click through on this, and we'd see the data which it was uploaded, created first of all, and the person that did it. In this case, there would normally be just one creator of the content. So I'm happy with that. I think a report, a table is the right way to display that data. I can now save it. And I'll save it as okay. So we've looked at the valuable content. And I want to create another chart, and I want to see who's collaborating on that content, who's actually working on it.
Where's that saved then? That report is saved in...
We'll show you in a second. It's actually saved in Pentaho, and then we're able to reload it into Share in a second. Okay, so we want to look at again the content and see who's actually contributing to it. And again, we'll just look at the top 10 most active pieces of content. I want to see the users that are actually contributing to the content. I want to just look at the total number of events. And in this case, I want to see who's editing the content. So I want to filter on a particular activity type. So I just drag this across to the filter. And I'm going to select file updated as the activity that we're going to filter on. I don't think that's particularly interesting as a table, not very eye-catching. So I'm going to actually say that's going to be better off as a sunburst chart. So that's showing us the top 10 most active pieces of content and who's collaborating on them. And for each of these, if I actually select a group, you can zoom in on that, showing you the number of activities, the number of events that each user has been responsible for. Okay, so that's really showing you where the intellectual property lies for each piece of content, who's actually got knowledge, who's been contributing to it. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to save that as, I don't know, collaboration as the chart name. Okay, so that's the content and the people that are producing the most value. I now want to look at trends over time for activity levels and across multiple sites. So we'll create a new chart. So now I'm interested in, first of all, reporting against time. So we'll have time as one axis. And in fact, I'm just interested in the total number of events at this stage. Just want to see how active the site is generally. I could filter it on most reads, most uploads, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to look at that. I can very quickly display that as a line chart. So this is showing across the whole repository, the whole organization, the activity levels, the total number of content-based activities over the past few months. But I'm not interested in just the activities across the organization as a whole, which looks okay apart from the dip here in September. But we're only partway through September when this snapshot was taken. I want to see what's going on across the organization, across the different sites. So I can actually, so if I can drag it across. All fingers and thumbs. It's not doing it. What the hell? Excuse me. Sorry? No, I don't. Well, I think it's just me, Garrick. I should be able to drag site name across to there. There we go. Just lack of coordination. So now we're looking at across all the sites. And we can look at activity trends, see whether some sites are peaking, some are trailing off. But perhaps I'm not interested in all the sites. I just want to have a look at a selection. So I can drag the filter across. And let's just say I'm interested in a group of those. And while it's filtering on that, so this is giving you a view on the activity around content, the activity, in fact, across different parts of the organization, across different sites. And this might take a little while. I should point out that I have Alfresco and Pentaho running on one not massively spec laptop underneath the desk here. So, okay, there we are. So now we've just got the sites we selected. Okay, I'm happy with that. And save that as I don't know, site trends. Okay, so I've created 3 new charts, new reports. I now want to expose them in a dashboard. So I simply go back to my dashboard. Normal. Don't know what happened there. Is that still okay? I think so. Okay. and I go into the normal dashboard configuration. I want to add dashlets, but now we have an additional dashlet type, which is custom reports. So I'm going to drag and drop the reports into here. I have 2 columns. I'll put 4 in. I can save that. And now I can actually load those reports. I have a list of reports I can choose from. So the first one I might want to look at is the value contributors. But I'm going to open that here, in fact. Then I want to have a look at the collaboration. That's the other graph we just created. And finally, in this section, the site trends. So now we've very quickly, just for good measure, we'll have the hot content report there. So you can see how easy it is to create new reports, and that's literally in a matter of minutes. We've got something which is telling you the most active content and who's creating it. If I click through there, it's showing you who's doing it and when. A view of who's collaborating on that content. This is one I created earlier, which is, again, a view of the activities around the most active piece of content. And then activity across site over time. And you can create hundreds of these reports to suit your own business needs. But that hopefully gives you some idea of how easy it is to set up the reports and the sort of insight they can provide. Okay, I'm going to go back to the presentation. So one thing that we were asked a lot about in San Francisco is how extensible is it? And there are a number of ways to extend it. First of all, you can extend the events framework, add your own activities, your own events. And they should automatically appear as parameters that you can select in the report generator we've just seen. You can create new visualizations. This is using the standard set of tools that Pentaho provides. But there's as a web-based interface. But if you wanted to, you could create your own custom dashboards using the other tools that Pentaho provides. Again, that's going to require some effort on your part. But we have plenty of partners who are able to assist you with that, I'm sure. So it's certainly extensible. In terms of where we see this going in future versions, well, we're going to be adding additional canned reports as we get more feedback from you guys about what you're really interested in and what you're finding useful. We can actually build that into the system. And likewise, we'll extend the number of parameters and the type of parameters we're capturing. And we're also going to allow you to report on custom data models, which I think is going to be crucial. And that is all I have at the moment. So I'd like to open it up to you guys for any questions. Yes?
You mentioned Community Edition. Can I just clarify, do you mean Alfresco 5 Community Edition?
Yes.
Okay, so there's some basic things available there. So
Yeah.
if you have an Alfresco Enterprise Edition and you have not licensed this extra, do you get anything?
You would get the community reports, the equivalent, yes. Yes.
And then what are the prerequisites for this? Okay, you've got to license this additional feature. What's the licensing model and any other prerequisites like dependencies on database or?
No, I mean we'll support all the databases that Pentaho support from a reporting database standpoint. You could load an analytics database if you so wished. A licensing model. This is actually still being determined, exactly the pricing, but it's likely that it's going to be on a per server basis. And other
Per server, do you mean, just say we have a number of Alfresco installations, is the server the reporting server, or is the server, each server being reported on?
Each server will be reported on initially, yeah. Okay. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the activity are in the first time stored in the Alfresco database and then with Kettle extracted and restored in Pentaho, or if they are each activity is dynamically directly stored to Pentaho.
No, it's asynchronous, so it's stored first of all in a separate database.
Okay. And so, I believe it will be configurable, but the default implementation, how often is it replicated to Pentaho?
It will be configurable. We anticipate most people will probably run it daily, but if you wanted to run the ETL more frequently, you could do it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 minute if you got the system that will take the load. So yes. Thank you. Yes.
Search analytics included?
Well, no, not really. If you've been to one of my colleagues' presentations, there's a lot more capabilities in Solar around search analytics, and that'll be developed separately. At some point, we may choose to bring those together, have a common interface. But yeah, it's something we are looking at around the new capabilities of Solar 4, for sure. Yes.
Are individual users able to save their own reports?
Depends what privileges they have. So you need to have the right privileges to be able to access the reports, because there are some potential sensitivities around the data you could glean from this. Just looking at the actual title of a piece of content could be not helpful in some cases. So the individual users will have pre-canned reports, and the report analytics, not super users, but the administrative users will be able to create new custom reports for users. But they won't. The end users will tend not to have the ability to generate their own reports.
And how do you restrict the content efficacy? Do you assign it to particular content areas, like from Alfresco source, or do you? How do you when the information is on Alfresco, it can be access can be controlled via sites and roles and profiles, etc. When it comes across into Example, how do you maintain this thing?
Well, that's going to be down to the customer. That's why you're going to have to restrict the access to the Pentaho system directly. If you've got access to Pentaho, then potentially you've got access to quite a lot of data. In terms of the access or the security around the reporting in Share, that just follows the normal site access. So if you've got access to the site, you'll have access to all the reports on that site. Yeah.
But if we take multiple sites into Pentaho, how do you control what reports? I live in different business units, so some of them I don't want seeing other information. How can I separate the access to the reports there?
Via the site access. So, okay. So you want to have an analyst or someone who's got access to a set of sites, and would that be different from their normal site access?
No, I wouldn't expect so.
Okay, so that would be covered. So if they've got access to the site in Alfresco, then they'll have access to reporting on that site. And just thinking about if you've got multiple reports, multiple sites. No, if you're reporting across multiple sites, like the site reports, you'll have access to the whole repository. So that would be a custom development, I think.
But is there layered levels in reporting?
There's essentially two levels. There's the normal Alfresco security level based on site or user access, individual user access, or there's a super user access at the moment. Does that make sense? So you've got access to the whole repository and all the reports. Okay, we'll talk about it later, perhaps. Yes, sorry.
Is it possible to create reports on custom activity workflows for software group and task assignments?
Yes, it will be, yes. We just haven't got that here now, right now. Yes? No, it's an add-on chargeable item, chargeable module. Yeah. Sorry.
Could you give any insight into the licensing part?
I can't yet, actually. That's actually sales and marketing do the pricing. They're still working on that. Yes.
Would it be possible to exclude several content items or content areas from being analyzed and gathering the data? So, for example, a site for board members, how will you get access to the analytic data to anyone?
No, I mean, as I said before, if you do that by site level reporting, you'd have sites published for a particular site. So the user of that site would then have access to those reports. Okay. Yes.
Will it be possible to set up reporting on metadata fields from the content of the document?
That's coming in the next version, yes. So that's the custom content model. So not initially, but yes, that's the next thing.
You showed sort of building the reports into dashboards.
Yes.
Is that available at the user level as well as the administrator?
No, that would be just the administrator level.
So you couldn't put that into your personal dashboard?
No, but you could get the administrator, I guess, to create a report for you. Yes. Can you export the reports? In terms of the output?
Yeah, just the data.
I think there are some capabilities, but I'm not sure what. I don't know if Eric or Will. I can't recall what's. There are some exports. Yeah, that's right, actually. Okay. Yes.
Permission level reporting within the site.
Permission level reporting.
Yeah.
Not at the moment. No, it's not something we've captured at the moment. As I say, we're looking at adding new events, new parameters all the time. But yeah. Okay. Anything else? How are we doing for time? Perfect, actually. Okay, thank you all very much. Look forward to seeing you the rest of the summit. Thanks, guys.